autonomous. For example, when a learner is visual, it means that they learn better. When it's it means that impulsive when they like to do things at once. And analytic, on the other hand, they like to do things with time and thinking carefully, analytically. And autonomous, that means that they want to know what they are going to learn and how they are going to learn. So with this characteristic, we must remember that
And these three main aspects give us to know how to use the language. Okay, so now some learning strategies I'm going to show you. So please pay attention. The first one says repeating. So if we have new words, we have to keep repeating in our brains until we can memorize it. Yes. The next one says feedback. We can ask classmates or teachers about how is your language, maybe our pronunciation. The important thing here is feedback, yes? And next one says experimenting. Experimenting, like looking for a perfect opportunity where we can use practice the language that we are learning. Okay, deciding. So now in this part we have to take the decision that, okay, I'm learning a second language, so let's put an opportunity to use it, maybe for foreign people that is visiting our country. Another good strategy for us is recording ourselves while we are speaking. Later we can change, we can notice all mistakes and give feedback also to ourselves. Finally, about the vocabulary. Before learning, we have to know what do we want to learn, and then we can choose the correct vocabulary. Okay, what happens if we find new words? That's we have to memorize. If you have to repeat, you have to take notes, and new words must be memorized. And this, like another idea that I found that's right. Like for example, as you see this picture, it's a little paper stick on the fridge. So every time you see this, you are gonna remember, and you're gonna more understand it. And acquire the new word. Okay, thank you.
So I'm going to continue talking about maturity. So what's maturity? It involves becoming grown up physically, mentally, and emotionally. So children, teenagers, and adults, they have all different levels of maturity, and learn in different ways. The more mature a person is, the better way he or she learns. Okay. So there are some main differences in maturity that influences learning language. Okay. So for example, in children, they need to move. They are always moving. But teenagers, they keep calm a little while, and then they still keep moving. But adults, they know that they have to pay attention, and they just stay calm. Okay? Also, children, they concentrate for short periods of time. They just lose the focus on class. Teenagers, they concentrate, but their concentration is not very focused on what they are learning. And adults, they can concentrate for longer periods of time because they are more mature. Also, children learn through experience and doing. So they need to do things to learn. Teenagers, they also start learning in abstract ways. So they are start developing cognitive and those kind of skills. And adults, they can learn in more abstract ways. So as they have already developed all their cognitive skills, they can do it better. And also the final one, children can control their behavior very well. So they just behave the way they are. They can think about a specific way of behaving. Teenagers, they start controlling and blaming their behavior. So sometimes they behave in a good way, or sometimes in a bad way. In adults, they usually are able to control their behavior. Okay, so they know that if you behave bad, you are going to be the one who is going to be seen badly for the others. So talking about past language learning experience, so the teachers, especially teachers of adults, they need to be aware of how their learners have learned previously and how they want to learn now. Because, for example, as an adult, he could have learned a class in English when the teacher used the grammar translation. So, and now the teacher is not using translation anymore. So he's going to have problems and he's going to feel that he's not learning. So we as teachers should know how they learned English previously. Other characteristic is that, for example, things like the personality, the motivation, the level of language, it also influences because they all doesn't have the same things that I just mentioned. So it would influence in how they will be involved in class. Okay?
I'm going to continue with the presentation with the key concepts and the language teaching class. It can be useful for teachers to become aware of their own learning styles, past learning experience, and learning strategies, and to compare this with how they teach. And teachers sometimes teach in the same style in which they themselves like to learn. This is unlikely to be the same style as all their language prefer. And learning characteristics such as past learning experience and learning strategies are more relevant to teaching teenagers and adults than to teaching children. We can find out what our learners' characteristics are by example, asking them, observing them, giving them questionnaires, or asking them at the end of the class whether they like the activity and why. And we can train learners to become aware of using different learning strategies. This is part of the learning training. For example, we can give learners a list of strategies for remember words and ask them which they prefer and why. Another tip is the teacher may need to discuss their methods with learners who are unhappy with new methods. Teacher may need to introduce the new method gradually and explain the reasons for them. And teachers can build into their lesson activities which match different learning styles. For example, listening activity followed by reading activity. Reading activity followed by group activity. Group activity followed by mingle, and mingle followed by an exercise. Okay. Teacher may need to discuss their methods with learners who are unhappy with new methods. And teacher can build their lesson activities with much different learning styles.
Okay, so now let's finish with some questions. On the handouts that I gave you, let's move to the exercise number 2. Okay, that says, look at the classroom activities of the list. So we have from A to J classroom activities. So I'm gonna ask to some of you about these classroom activities, and you have to give me your idea which, according to the strategies that we showed here, what is the best strategy it's applied for each classroom activity. Yes. So let's see. The first one says, letter D. Okay, let's go for letter D. Looking at sentences containing the second conditional and working out how to form these sentences. So, Vero Silva, which strategy do you think we would go for this classroom activity? Yeah, read letter D. D.
Looking at sentences, containing the second conditional, and working out how to form these sentences.
Yeah, so what strategy would be appropriate for that activity? No, which strategy? The list of strategies that we showed here. If you want, you can check on page 72 on the book. Anita, can you help us? Yes, which one do you prefer for the learning styles?
Yeah.
Yes, letter D. Which learning style do you think is according to the learning styles on page 72? Yes, right. What about Alexandra? Letter H. Yes, can stay. One more. Let's see, Gabi. Again, for the activity that says asking learners to imagine and sing and describe it to you.
Strategy
What?
will be visual.
Yes, will be. Okay, that was all. Thank you.